Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here, and today I would like to discuss Daredevil Born Again. Now just right off the top, this will of course have full spoilers, but you sometimes just have to say that just out of precaution. Full spoilers for the first 2 episodes. But we got our first 2. I enjoyed them. There's some stuff that, obviously, you know what I'm going to talk about. There's the thing that I don't like, and then the rest of the show is okay. Only 9 episodes, if I'm not mistaken, so that is going to be pretty interesting to see. And I assume that they're going to do once a week, which makes it feel super real. Like, it's going to be interesting watching this, and we'll see what happens. Because if they do 2 episodes at a time, or maybe do 2 and then you get like the final 3 together, I'd be like, okay, I can do 2. Especially because just watching the first episode alone, I was like, wow, this feels like it's a super long episode. And it may have been an hour. I didn't really check the time, but I'm pretty sure both episodes were only in like the 40-minute range. The first one might have been a little longer, but it was like, okay, they feel like they're moving at a good pace, where it's like it feels like a decent chunk of things happen, but at the same time it's like, okay, I don't feel like they rush through stuff, except for the beginning. Once again, we'll get to that, but they go through piece by piece, building things up, our newer characters that we have, and just how the story is starting to unfold. So I enjoyed most of what we got. I'm still, of course, looking forward to the rest of what we're going to end up getting, but naturally there are some things that need to be said. And of course, the number one thing is, why the F did they kill Foggy? That blows. I hate that personally. I know I've watched, of course, different reviews and people have different thoughts on it. Some people feel like it was good to get us back into it. I personally feel like it sucked as a way to get us back into things. But of course, for those of you who are not aware of like kind of the back end stories and things like that, but I'm sure you are. If you're watching this, you probably already heard it, maybe in another review or something like that. But of course, the whole thing with this series is that they had a script and then they're like, okay, we have to change some stuff around. They were like, yeah, we're not doing this. And then they switched a lot of things around. And what I recently heard was that it was specifically episodes 1, 8, and 9. So really only those 3 episodes were, I would even say, drastically changed, even if you can say drastically. But those are the only 3 episodes that really had like some fundamental differences to them, which I have to assume is the Foggy Karen stuff, because they weren't in the show at all originally. I don't know why they felt the need to like kill him off. And I think that was because they were kind of the like new people that came in. They were pretty much stuck to like a certain path that they had to do. So I think basically they're like, please let us save somebody, because I think they were supposed to kill Foggy and Karen off. And then that's where the shift thing came from. And that's why people were still asking like, hey, are you guys actually going to kill Foggy? Are you guys still going to kill Karen and all this stuff? And it was because those initial rumors, like that's what was, had come out initially. And it was like, hey, that's totally different. Like, see, we got the actors, because they literally weren't even going to have them originally. Utterly insane. Which a separate part of this conversation. It all ties together, of course, because there's the only reason we got this scenario that anyone has like any sort of issue with is because they made a horrible decision in the beginning to just be like, yeah, we'll kill him off anyway. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's as if they just didn't realize that just because the show's called Daredevil, it means that there's no other main characters. Like, you literally have his best friend, and then a pseudo on-off possible relationship character in Karen. And it's crazy the way that they did this, where it's like, okay, we're kicking things off, and then boom, they kill Foggy. And of course, watching it, I was like, holy crap, they're gonna, like, are they actually going to kill them both? Because of course, Bullseye could easily do that naturally. Like, I thought that's what was gonna happen. And then it seemed like he was gonna, walk up and do it kind of personally and like make sure she knew what was happening. And then of course, Matt comes in and he saves her at the last second. I was like, okay. All right, I'm okay with that, at least. And of course, the fact that it's Bullseye, that's like one of the few times where I'm like, all right, you can have a character just walking up on somebody, even though they're clearly, she was like fumbling, trying to get her gun and everything. And it's like, okay, Bullseye could literally shoot the gun out of her hand and have like no problems whatsoever. If anyone could just walk up on you as you're drawing a weapon on them, it's Bullseye. It's like, I'll give you that. Normally I hate that stuff where I'm like, you should, even for the villains, I'm like, you should probably just shoot him now. Like, she's going for a gun, you might want to do something. But with Bullseye, it's like he could literally shoot the gun out of her hand as she's about to put it on him. So I'm like, all right, he gets an excuse. He could literally just knock it out, shoot it out of her hand and then still kill her, point blank. So I'm like, all right, that's not the crazy part. Matt comes in, they have a fight. And I gotta be honest, I didn't even like the effing fight. I was like, you just killed Foggy and now I gotta watch this CG crap? I don't like this. Like, there's some parts I didn't mind. When they let him be more acrobatic. And this was even, before the fight where he's running on the rooftop, which was a weird scene. It was even mentioned in some of the other stuff I saw where people were like, oh, it's a lot of CG. And I was like, that's weird. That was weird that they even bothered putting that in. I was like, was that a part of the reshoots? Like, they couldn't just have him run across a rooftop? That wasn't a part of like the original shoots, to just run across a couple rooftops and chop it together? Because all they did was show him like go across multiple rooftops, and it was clear that they were cutting it to show like he's going across like different buildings and stuff. And I'm like, it's weird that they wouldn't have had that actual footage of him just naturally running over a couple of random rooftops, and then you just splice it together to kind of show the passage of time as he's like hopping through buildings. And clearly you can tell it's supposed to be, every time it cuts, it's like, oh, he's jumped through a couple new buildings or over a few new buildings. So that was odd to me, where I was like, they couldn't have just done that practical. So that was super weird. And then of course you have the fight. And it starts off with a CG smoke, where I was like, I don't understand why they couldn't have done an actual smoke, but I guess it was because they had to fight inside the smoke. And then I was like, well, I hate this now because that's effing stupid, because now you have this CG smoke going on, and then they're actually fighting, but I can't really see the choreography. And then sometimes it transitions to CG stuff. Bullseye's just killing people left and right, Matt's trying to save people here and there. And then they get to the stairs. That's the best part of the whole thing, as far as I'm concerned, is when the whole thing is practical. You got the light flashing, Bullseye's, throwing knives at, in the suit and everything, and he's got just blades just sticking out of him and stuff, and it's like, that's pretty cool. And they're just going back and forth. They're both tired. One of the kind of realistic, so to speak, staples of the Daredevil series. People get tired during their fights, and they're just tired. And then they get like that little burst of energy. Bullseye throws a knife. That little burst of energy, Daredevil throws one of his billy clubs. That little burst of energy, they block one another. And it's like, okay, that I can always appreciate. I like the fact that they're tired and they're just trying to get it done. They go up, of course, the heartbeat thing, that was definitely a great mechanic. I wish it ended in a different way, of course, but hey, it was a good mechanic. I definitely like that. And them going all the way up, and once again, we get to that weird transition between live action and CG. Bullseye gets to the rooftop. I didn't mind the part of Matt like swinging on the outside of the building when he does like the the superhero pose, and then he like jumps off and drops down and hits Bullseye in the back. And then for some insane reason, once again, another moment where I'm like, how did they not have that footage? But they had like 2 seconds beforehand, him punching him up against like the little wall, and it was all CG. And I was like, they didn't have that? Just realistically speaking, it confuses me. The weird random things where I'm like, all he did was walk, and then he grabs him and spins him around and punches him in the face, I think, and that's what knocks him down again. And then he starts punching him while he's like on the ground, and I'm like, that's CG again. That's weird. How did they not have like the simplest things where it's like a couple of punches, but that wasn't live action? That's weird. I can understand some of the more acrobatic spins and kicks and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, I don't even mind that. As long as it looks fine, like I'm okay with that. Like him actually swinging around like he does in the comics, that's okay. Like I said, the CG thing where he's running across the buildings, it just seems odd to me that they wouldn't have just had that naturally, but it is what it is. And then the random parts where it goes from live action to CG again, and I'm like, that's weird. So it really bothered me. Normally I'm not like one to be like, oh, CG is like such an issue, but it was like, it started off with the smoke instantly, and I was like, oh, why'd they do CG smoke when they could have done real smoke? And it was because they have to actually fight within the smoke. So that, I was like, okay, I understand why they had to do CG. But yeah, I wasn't particularly happy. I was like, some of the action was definitely cool. I won't act like there was nothing there that was good. It definitely had some cool stuff in it, but it's like, it starts off with Foggy being shot, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's dying. And then I have to watch an action sequence that I don't think is really that fantastic. And then I'm like, huh. So this is an 18-wheeler. I guess he was mad that I got in front of him, even though I was already in front of him. But okay. So anyway, I wasn't happy with the opening. I like the actual opening of the series, and I definitely like the Daredevil font that they use, because I'm pretty sure that's like the actual comic font. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I was not particularly happy with that opening. I was like, they killed Foggy, which really upset me. The action wasn't really that amazing, in my personal opinion. I feel like I would have liked it more if I could have seen, like the first chunk of the fight, instead of them being like, hidden away in like the CG smoke. So I kind of hated that entirely. And I feel like, like I said, there are a bunch of cops in there. That's why you had to do it that way, to get everybody out and stuff. So it had to be CG because they couldn't actually do it. But at the same time, they probably could have done it, but not in the same way they did. So, I understand. But still, if they're doing reshoots, I'm like, I'm gonna ask for more practical. That's just me personally. So I was kind of just like, that sucks. That was an unfortunate opening that started with the death of Foggy. Acting wise, fantastic though, and I gotta say that for sure. I think Deborah Hall is the actress for Karen. The scene where Matt throws Bullseye over, I didn't understand what was happening in that scene when I first watched it, which admittedly was because I was high, so I was a little distracted there. But I realized right as it was ending, and then I was like, let me rewind this and watch it again. The reason she was freaking out so hard, and she was like, oh God, like please God, like she was about to say like I can't, and it was because she didn't know if it was Bullseye or Matt, and it was like she can't lose both of them at the same time. She can't lose Foggy and Matt, and her acting there was impeccable. Like I don't know if you can win an award for literally one scene, but if you can, that's the one where it should happen, because that was absolutely amazing. So I love that small moment that we had there. Her acting was like absolutely impeccable. But unfortunately, it had to be impeccable in the sequence that I, wasn't too fond of myself. So it's unfortunate. And then, of course, we do, the 1 year later, we get a nice little time skip. And Matt's moved up in the world. He's got his own law firm with the woman that Foggy was hitting on. So, it's got like glass meeting rooms and stuff like that. So clearly they're doing some good stuff. He's got good suits and all that. And even, Fisk mentions that, when they have like their amazing moment, which makes a lot more sense now, because during that scene, I'm poor. So I was like, I don't know what he means by that. And then it was like, oh, it's because he has a suit. And of course, Fisk would know that's a really good suit. I wouldn't know that. I don't have money like that. But Fisk would understand it. So seeing it in context, I was like, that makes a lot more sense why he said that now. He recognizes how good his suit looks. Because I was like, when I saw it in the trailer, I was like, I wonder why he said that. And it's like, he's just wearing an outfit. But great scene. I love that for sure. Of course, everything they did with Fisk I thought was interesting. Also, everything they did with Fisk was also super, super quick. Like him becoming mayor was like, he got the signatures and then boom, he was mayor by the end. And then like in episode 2, they were, clearly their timing is different, because the way they did it was like New Year. And I was like, okay, so they skipped a few months. And then they have a conversation where, I guess she would count as his, I don't know, she's not an assistant, but like the woman who is more in line with like the political stuff. She's like, these first 100 days are very crucial. So I'm like, so has it just been a couple of days? Because it's weird that they're, like I know they said that, but I'm like, the way they made it seem was like, so the couple of months has passed, but at the same time, some of the dialogue made it seem like it was still the very beginning. And so it just seems super weird, because I'm like, all right, well, if it's been like the couple of months, like why did the cop, like the commissioner and stuff, why did he wait to like the last minute to do that? Like it seems so odd. So I'm like, this has to have been just, their timeline is just different than what we have in the real world. So I'm not 100% certain, but either way, I thought that was interesting. I was like, that felt like it moved super fast, but I didn't mind it. And then once again, there's another thing I didn't like. I kind of hate the fact that he and Vanessa are on bad terms. Because that was like, the whole thing was their relationship was so good and he cared so much about her and he would do anything to protect her. And then they're like, and this, once again, this goes back to like, what the F were they thinking when they first wrote this show? Like it was like they legit were not gonna make any real connections. It was like, we only really care about having the actors come back and everything else is irrelevant to us. That's how it feels sometimes with some of the stuff they did. Because it was like, okay, well, they clearly didn't care about Karen or Foggy because they were just gonna kill both of them off. And then like the new people came in and basically at least saved one of them. So, we got that for what it's worth. And of course, they had to still write it out that Karen was upset and how everything went. And so she's gone now. And there's hope. People are hoping, and there were some references, because there's a comic story where Foggy fakes his death and then has to go into protective services. So hope beyond hope, hopium, whatever you want to call it. If they do it, okay. I don't care if it's hokey, because the decision to kill him is worse than a bad story that they were, and obviously they were confined to do it. They had kind of no choice. They couldn't change 100% of the show anyway. So it's like, if that's how they have to save it, then that is okay with me. And I'm going to hope that that's what happens, because man, not only does it suck to have him dead, but it was just a crappy way to do it. It's just like when characters just die for no good reason. And there's no real build-up. It's just how they start things off, because they just had no choice but to write them out of the show as fast as they could, and that was how they did it. So there's only hope beyond hope that they just decide, like, for whatever reason, we had to do it. Bullseye wouldn't have gone to prison if it wasn't, if he didn't actually, well, that wouldn't make sense. He killed like 15 other people. So that wouldn't have worked anyway. But for, comic book reasons, he had to pretend to stay dead. I don't know why for a full year. Who cares? If Foggy's alive, I'll take it. So that's all that matters to me. So they got the references in there. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it's possible we get the man back. I hope that is true. And I hope they just take it back. By the time the season ends, they were able to change up the final 2 episodes and just be like, yep, and this is how we write Karen back in. This is how we get Foggy back in, and everything is right in the world. Because the way they did it, it's like, man, we've been waiting forever for this show. And then season 3 ends off. Things are like looking up. They're good. They got NM&P, all that good stuff. And I'm like, I want this. I want them to have the happy thing with Daredevil still being on the side. Like, we've gone through the element of he has to hide who he is. People find out his secret. He has to argue about that secret. He gets, his confrontation with Foggy, and like they're back and forth, and things just kind of kept going really bad for them. And then they finally work out towards the end. And then boom, he's gone. Karen has to take off. And it's like, dude, I don't want that. So I hope they change it. And then, of course, once again, the other element where I'm just like, I hate that they did this too. I wanted Fisk and Vanessa to just be good. Like, just let them be a team. That's all I wanted. And then it was like, oh, nope. Because he disappeared and all the stuff he went through, he just wasn't there. And it's like, that's what they thought of. There was just no other way to just be like, hey, let's just have them still both be horrible crime bosses, and then still find a way to go through the element of being like, hey, he wants to run for mayor. Like, it's so weird to me that was how they had to do it, where it had to be an issue. And I'm like, why not just make it work? I like that. I like the fact that they were together, just like Matt and his friends. I like the fact that they were able to finally make it work, which is another thing, honestly. They never could make it work. So it was like the two things I was like, finally, all these storylines have come together. The two groups have like their North Stars. And then this show kicks off and it's like, everything is off, everything's wrong, everything is ruined. Their relationship sucks. One of these people is dead, the other person left. It's like, they just left both of them with nobody. And obviously, they're gonna try to work through it with therapy, but I was like, this kind of sucks to me. Like, I hate that they did it that way. It just feels weird that they destroyed the two things, the two big like elements relationship-wise within this show that built up over 3 seasons, 4 if you want to count Defenders. And then they legit just tore him down again. And a lot of people have mentioned this, where it's like, oh, he needed a reason to not be Daredevil again, and that's how they utilized Foggy, which, once again, I think that had more to do with the constraints. But even still, that was the original notion for why they killed Foggy and Karen. And it's like, well, that's dumb. He's already not been Daredevil for, let's face it, like 2.5 seasons? He's been like, I'm not Daredevil anymore. He throws his suit away more than Spider-Man. So I don't know. I don't know why they did that for like what would technically be like the 4th season of this show. But for whatever reason, that's what they did. And obviously the new writers did what they could to salvage it. And like I said, hope for Foggy. But that's all we got. And then the Kingpin Vanessa thing, we'll just see how that goes. I assume Bullseye is gonna somehow get out of prison. Obviously Kingpin won't help him because he hates Kingpin as well. So somehow he's got to get out, because that dude's a great villain. Especially because he's crazy. He's like the closest I think we get to the human version of like Carnage when it comes to Marvel Comics, where it's like people that are just absolutely horrible. Actually, I guess Muse, oddly enough, is a good replacement. Now that I'm thinking about that, Muse probably isn't too bad of a replacement. So I'm excited to see how far they really go with that as well, because we barely got, any of like the craziness. And I'm curious, like more so than Bullseye, like killing people with headshots left and right, Muse is like some Silence of the Lambs type stuff. He won't eat you, but he'll put you up as like an art display, and it's horrifying. So we'll see what they really do with Muse, because I'm actually really looking forward to that, just to see, how far they actually decide to take things. But I guess Muse isn't a bad replacement. I still want Bullseye, obviously, but Muse isn't a bad replacement in terms of like just an absolutely insane villain. So we'll see what happens there. So I'm looking forward to that. I am looking forward to obviously more action. That was one of the things one of the newer writers said, is that they made sure to put more action into the show. So I'm like, okay, let's see how that turns out. I'm very curious about how that's going to be played. So we'll see what happens. Also, I do have to mention, I like the suit. I hated the first pose up because that was a part of the bad CG where he was swinging, and it was like that transition from him swinging to doing like the hero pose where he's looking down. I was like, oh guys, this is not a 10 out of 10. What are you doing? The suit's fine. I've always appreciated it. I know people aren't too fond of this one. I like this one more, I think. I have to get a better look at it and like really compare the suits, but I always like this one more. Like even when I first saw it, I was like, I actually kind of hated the fact that his other suits were like burgundy suits. I was like, I don't really like this. Like, just let it be the vibrant red. Put the Daredevil on it. Like, put the 2Ds on it. Like, I'm fine with that. They went ketchup and mustard, which I absolutely hate. I hated that costume ever since I was a kid. Like, the first time I ever saw that, I was like, how the F did they do this and think that looked cool? But some people like it, and I'm glad you do. I'm happy someone can be happy about that, because I've never understood how that worked. Like, did that come from like the weird amalgam DC Marvel crossover and he fought Condiment King? Because I'm like, dude, this doesn't, why did you do, I know you can't see, but I don't want to have to look at that. So, hopefully that suit just doesn't really make too many appearances. If they want to do the all black suit, like the black and red, I'll gladly take that. I'm a sucker for like just a black suit with like a little bit of color. Gladly, I'll take it. Clearly they had the little lineup of all the different helmets, so he's got the different colors. At some point, I think we're gonna see one of his alternate suits, and that'll be cool. But as of now, I'm like, I kind of like the vibrant red, because that's kind of his thing, is it's more vibrant red. So we'll see what happens with that. But I personally think the suit looks okay for now. Like I said, have to get a better look to really do like the ultimate comparison or whatever. But, excuse me. But I enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to whatever we're going to end up getting for the rest of the season, these next 7 episodes. I would love it if they did 2 at a time. I don't think they're going to. I think we're doing once a week, and that really blows, because it's just going to feel so different. But I am still looking forward to where we're headed. I have no choice. I don't think it's going to be horrible. I just think those initial choices are still horrible. Like, why would you? It's just weird to me. Like, these are one of those decisions where I'm like, who in the world was writing this show initially, where they're like, what if we killed Foggy and Karen off screen, made them not Daredevil, broke up Fisk, broke up Vanessa, all that's horrible too, and boom, we basically start the whole show over. It's like, you're the ones who said it was going to continue the series. Like, why? It's weird. Like, they did like everything it seemed that they could to try to make this a brand new series. And once again, except for just being like, yeah, we'll just get the same 2 actors though. Because that's why they weren't even going to have them on screen. It was like, we'll do this as easily as possible and just screw up as much as we can. Because that's what they were doing. So I'm glad we at least got something. I'm hoping with the copium that Foggy does make a return. I heard that they're trying to get both actors back for season 2, or that they will both be in season 2. So that's all we can truly, truly hope for. But we'll see what happens. I would love to know your thoughts. Daredevil season 2. Obviously, going forward with these next couple episodes, what you guys are looking forward to. I'm excited for, whatever they end up doing with Fisk. I mean, obviously, neither of these guys, after their big conversation, Fisk is going to be Kingpin, Matt's going to be Daredevil. Like, we've already seen it. We don't even know what happened with Kingpin. Like, a lot of people have speculated maybe he did beat up Adam already. Because what was that random scene where they showed his knuckles were already bloody? And it was like, we never found out exactly what happened there. And I'm like, I think he might have beat the guy up. I don't know if he's dead, but he did something. He did something wrong. So we'll see what happens with that as well. I'm very curious, because I feel like that was like an early tease, and I think we'll actually get an answer to that later. But for now, I just want to know your thoughts on Daredevil Born Again, what you like, what you don't like. What do you guys think? They killed Foggy. They got rid of Karen. They said, let's swap in the new people. Let's see where it goes. I would love to know your thoughts, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.